Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Worlds and Crafts. This is a stream devoted to opening the curtain of creation on setting building, where we're going to talk about metaplots, minutiae, and mechanics. And this time, I did not forget to unmute my microphone. How's everyone doing today? Okay. So, while I'm waiting to see if anyone responds, last time on Worlds and Crafts, we kind of started fresh into a new world, and we talked about our favorite fantasies growing up and things that we thought about a lot. For some of us, it was a forest where we could escape. For some of us, it was the magic behind the mundane in your daily life. And for some of us, it was a place of unbridled creativity. In any scenario, though, no answer was certainly wrong, so long as it was not bigoted. But we didn't run into that, thankfully, and I'm crossing my fingers that we don't run into that again. Rather, at all. And after talking about that for some time, we kind of came up with a base setting concept, which I then took some time to build out a little bit of a map for on Thursdays for this, because Thursday is midday map making. So if you're interested more in the map making portion of the stream, I definitely recommend you tune in tomorrow. It's going to be from 12 to 2 is the time slot, though sometimes it'll run a little shorter depending on how much content we have to build out. But yeah, if you're new to the stream, this is a very relaxed stream where we just kind of chill, just kind of talk, just do whatever, you know. We're making stuff together because creating is better with friends. So, without further ado, let's dive in. You know, I knew I was forgetting something. Excuse me while I text my loving spouse. Hey, would you mind bringing me up some water? I'm not running away again. Not so soon. In any case. I did a little bit of updating on the description of the world that we were talking about, because I came up with something that I'll explain in a minute. There's a story behind it, but let me just read this real quick. So, remember the lost. So, a new world in which we go to find adventure, mystery, and remembering our own magic. Maybe I'll just say recalling our own magic. The lighted forest of the Mistvale is a place where no civilization may remain. Spirits both benign and malevolent haunt the shadows under heavy boughs and frolic in streams of golden sunlight that pierce the canopy. It is the last refuge of the mystic in this land, and serves as a place of pilgrimage for many of the peoples nearby. Yet it is only representative of one part in this great world of dangers and adventure. Cities that are full of wondrous invention and forgotten magic dot the lands like islands and seas of wildlife, and great constructs stride between them, carrying passengers and supplies. It seems a wondrous place, but there is something wrong happening. A deadening through which the greenery grows dimmer, the creations less exciting, and the majesty of the world codified. The spirits and dragons know what is going on, but they are loath to speak of it, and slowly a shadow is stretching across the lands. Who will you be in this world of threatened wonder? Will you stop it, or will you take advantage of it? Who will remember you when you are lost? So I kind of built out from that. And we'll go over concept stuff in a second, but I kind of came up with the whole constructs thing a while back, because I was thinking, what would be a fun way to take high seas swashbuckling piracy, which is, the concept that they use a lot in space operas as well, and port that over to, like, a world-spanning element in fantasy, in like a medieval fantasy or even an ancient fantasy. And ultimately what I came up with was, why not machines, you know? But they're not exactly machines. They're machines powered by spirits, was the idea I had. To keep it in that whole realm of a mixture between accepting creativity and creation and yet not allowing industrialism to destroy everything. So kind of borrowing some thematic elements in some ways, or at least starting in a similar place to Eberron, just not post-apocalyptic and not kind of dystopic. Certainly did not think about Eberron when I built this, but it kind of just happened. And another thought I had, which is something I think I would be fun to include in this, was I was watching the 1990s Disney film Aladdin, and thank you. Hey, Big Dad, now I can hydrate. You redeemed hydrate the first minute of stream. Good job. Good job. Thank you, darling. So, anywho, I was watching Aladdin, and I was sitting there going, damn, Genie really is like the most powerful entity in this setting. Damn. And then it just kind of hit me on the noggin. What if all of your deities for a setting were kind of like that? What if they were all just like bound to objects that are hidden throughout the world? And you have to go find them if you want wisdom. If you want prayers answered or whatever, you got to go find these objects, go on a pilgrimage. Otherwise, you don't hear anything. And I thought that would be a very fun element that drives adventure. So I think it'd be fun to conclude that in this, but it's also too early to say that that is for sure what incarnation it could take or would take. So the way that I reflected that was in themes and feelings. So under the concept, I updated it so that it says, a setting about rekindling magic inside of yourself and the world through remembering the magic of life, invention, and community. The setting will have themes of a changing world with supernatural entities such as fae and dragons and spirits all either disappearing or leaving or losing their power. They understand what is going on, even if only in part, and the journey of changing the world is the protagonist's primary goal and element. Heal or harm, it is an epic fantasy about the path of renewal, struggle, or destruction. So themes and feelings. Life unaffected by civilization contains magic that becomes lost through the effect of that civilization. It is untamable force that dies when it is tamed. And the inventive spark of humankind contains a different kind of magic that becomes lost through struggle and pain. It is a force of creation and endeavor that dies when it is tamed or snuffed out. We'll call it snuffed out. So then, massive magical constructs stride the land between cities carrying people and cargo. None are exactly alike, if similar, for they are living creatures created through the suffusing of physical matter with spiritual matter. And adventure is a call that everyone feels, for out in the lost memories of the world there are miracles and wisdom to be had. So that's where I left off, with the addendums that I added. And I'm also trying to keep an eye out here for a friend who said they would be joining that I owe a song to. Because I had promised them a song. So yeah. So from there, I kind of thought it would be fun if tonight we just continued on thinking about and talking about themes and feelings of a setting through sound, through images, through stories, continuing to build out an overall feeling. And right now I am actually using My Noise, and I'm at the moment listening to Primeval Forest, which is wind, water, birds, and more, because I'm still personally in the forest. It's where I'm starting. Because that was my personal fantasy, was the forest. And as a result, I decided I was going to go looking around and see if there was any other world or any mood board software available or programs out there. And I'm not really sure of the legality of streaming any of them yet because I didn't have enough time. We were interviewing a tenant, potential tenant. That said, I started looking up some images, and I did build those out on a website that, again, not really sure if this is something we can do, but just went ahead and built in the some forest here with notes about where the images came from, some fairy rings, but I didn't get very far in that, so I think for the most part I'll just kind of leave that there, and I may end up having to switch mood board programs later. I struggle to use Pinterest personally. I know a lot of people like it, but I have a tough time with it. So, themes. Who else here tonight anyway? I see your big dad. I see Edenelect. Another T viewer. Combat Zerg. Elderis07 lurks. Pinguito? No, that's not it. Pingutio. Coxic. Haha. Silverwing61. I'm assuming that's a Veyuz. And your big dad. Our lovely known quantity. Ah, and of course Broken Golem. Hello! Of course you did. Of course you did. That is a power word. It's a power word. Either it summons people or drives them away. As people just leave the chat. Yeah, Silverwing61, that is a concern of mine. I mean, yeah, stolen artwork is right. And a lot of these images are from photographers from Flickr right now, so I really need to dive in and actually figure out some of the more respectful ways to build a mood board and always hail back to the artist. My spouse is an artist, so it's like, okay, let's not screw over people. Same thing goes for DeviantArt. Lots of people claiming that it's their art and it's not. And by the way, Silverwing61, welcome. I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome to Worlds and Crafts. Yeah, okay. So, question then, for each of you. When you are working on a story, working on a setting, working on a scene, either in a story or in, let's say, a tabletop game, or a session, what are some of your favorite tools to use for helping you build your mood for that? Oh, I'm glad to hear it, Silverwings. I always appreciate lurkers. I am a frequent lurker. I very rarely interact on things that I lurk on. Kind of ironic. Well, yeah, ironic. But yeah, so the question is, what are some of your favorite resources that you use as creators to help build out your mood, to help affect you in a positive way toward your inevitable creation goal? Because that's really kind of what I'm going for right now, kind of what I'm thinking about is, themes and feelings. Let's actually go visual themes. I kind of forgot that I could very easily, just knowing where these images come from. This one comes from Flickr. Just save that image and just paste the link there. Save myself some grief. I definitely closed those tabs. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this app for now, and at the moment, I'll just use links and reviews. Images. It's so big. Can I resize you? I can resize you. Hooray. Not super ideal, but it works. It do its job. Let's make this a bullet list. There we go. This too. Bullets. Those bullets are so ugly. Oh god, I changed the entire thing. Actually, you know, I'm a weeb. There we go. No, that's not the term I want. I don't like using that term anymore. I'm a nerd. There we go. Better term. Do you so you like to start with catastrophe, Broken Golem? I'm just currently gonna go look up some images of fairy rings, because I want a fairy ring as a part of this mood board. As a part of our moods and themes. That was nice. Show me the image. Oh, okay. No source available for this. It's on Pinterest, but somebody clearly saved it. So, rip. You know, I actually think that's I think that's kind of a I don't want to call it generational, like as in like millennials and Gen X, but it's kind of, I think, creatively generational, because there was a big surge of that in the 80s, of taking real world things and being like, let's just change it and fuck it up and crack it in half and do whatever, instead of, you know, just going with a whole new world, taking the real world and doing something with it. That was definitely something I noticed a lot in 1980s science fiction and fantasy. I don't know anything about Twilight 2000. Boomer energy. Rip. Don't do this to me, your big dad. Well, what's it about? I really need a little bot to notify me when new people join so I can, like, welcome them. I don't know if anyone has joined, it's just, yeah. Need a widget. A widget. There's a fairy ring. Let's go ahead and say Deep Woods. Wow. My caps lock key was on. Deep Woods. Ooh, that's pretty. That's an excellent one. No. Stop. I absolutely love, fantastically adore when I open a tab and it starts playing sound. It's my favorite. Can you tell? It's the best thing. More websites should do it. Everyone should. Just every tab you open plays music that no one asked for. Doesn't that sound spectacular? So, Twilight 2000, post-apocalyptic paramilitary, very 80s in its feel. Hmm. Oh, that's super pretty. This is from wallpaperstock.net. That's lovely. Just gonna post the link to it that I have. Copy image. There's a whole side of TikTok that people finding. I believe it. I think fairy rings are a point of obsession among people, because they do just feel mystical. No matter how often you see them, you're like, it's magic. They're amazing. For people who don't know much about fairy rings, they're a natural phenomenon where mycelium underneath the earth form a circle, and the fruiting bodies sprout up, and what is relatively a circle. I don't remember why they form, if it's around trees or if it's for some other thing. I kind of forget. But sounds like you need to sacrifice those neighbor kids to the green man. We at Gehenna Gaming do not suggest sacrificing children. These are the sole thoughts and ideas of Brandon Ayrton Schmidt. Mark would appreciate me for that. Mark, where are you? Appreciate me. There you go, Broken Golem. Making sure to cover our butts. Okay, I think I've done enough stuff for all that. So I think my next thing I'm gonna look for is I'm gonna start looking into walking fantasy buildings, because I think that sounds fun. Oh, that's cute. This is definitely a little more on the post-apocalyptic side. Well, it's definitely very post-apoc, but that's okay. I need... That's not what I want. Okay. Also huge. Okay, it's not huge. It's just larger than I expected. Shrink, please. No, it did not load properly. Delete. Copy image. I make far too much use of the copy image function. Mostly because I don't like storing things on my computer if I can avoid it. I thought that was a really neat image. Super cool. No, it's not too predictable. And initially, when I thought about this whole concept, many people, when I mentioned it, these like large constructs were like, "Oh, kind of like Howl's Moving Castle." I'm like, not really dissimilar. You're right. Except instead of it being unique, it's everywhere. Everyone has a moving castle. It's the latest fashion. Let's see here.
Now, lately, all you kids are gonna want moving buildings. Everything's gonna have legs. You're gonna be stuck with it. We're just gonna do, like, moving castles. I'm gonna skip the Howls part.
Because I feel like there's gotta be fan art out there. Come on. There's gotta be, like, unrelated, non-Studio Ghibli fan art. I think my favorite thing about Howl's Moving Castle is that it had, like, earlobes. Problem for me with Howl's Moving Castle is it's definitely the wrong vibe. It's very, very fantastical and like of a specific variety and type, like proto-industrialism. And I'm trying to hint at that, but avoid it being the absolute case. What if I just type, like, buildings with legs? Wonder what's gonna happen. Buildings with legs! Let's find out! Oh, okay. Somebody built a giant Lego structure that looks like giraffe legs in a building. And... oh, perfect. Found the perfect image, guys. The perfect image. You ready for this? I don't think you are. There we go! Just, okay. Delete. 100%. The perfect image. God. Ah, I see Lefriki has joined us once again. Welcome, welcome. And... Alright, well, we're going to move on from that. That was the best image I could find with buildings with legs for the moment. Let's check it out. Hanger back walker. Is there just an image without the card? There is. Hey, that's really cool. Actually, that's something I didn't really think about. Fantasy walker. I kind of sometimes forget words. Yeah. There's a couple. Fantasy, we'll call it, we'll just say mech walker. Make it easier. That's a neato image. Alright. This is from a podcast website. Let me just see if they do an attribution. Huh. I guess they technically don't. Yeah, I mean, that's a seriously cool image. I think it definitely goes more in the right direction. Really beautifully articulate. That's true. Baba Yaga's hut. I mean, Baba Yaga's hut is definitely a great example of something weird. And it definitely doesn't have to be the one from Curse of Strahd either. But it can be for certain. I think my favorite thing about the Baba Yaga legend is that she rides around in a giant mortar and pestle. She flies. Or in some versions, it's a cauldron. Well, that one's cute. Oh, the artwork from the book? Let me check that out. Baba Yaga's hut, Curse of Strahd. Oh, I like that one. I like that one a lot. Oh, that's wonderful. Excuse me while I nix this completely, and replace it with something else. This one's great. Spooky vibes. This comes from a Google group, apparently, because there's no other attribution made for it. I'm just gonna go ahead and paste the group link. Beyond that, I'd say fantasy city states is a really another good one. Images. Apparently this is from the world of Corwin? I don't know. The city-state of Valskar. I'm not familiar with it. I'm just gonna borrow the image as inspiration. Beautiful. Beautiful artwork, either way. Why is it doing this? Oh, it's because it's down there. Right. Cool. Oh, that's the problem. There we are. Nice. Alrighty. So, I think that's plenty for forests and walking things, but I could potentially use some other things, but let's check to see if anyone else has joined us. Looks like... Nope, we're good. I'm just trying to keep an eye out for that friend I mentioned earlier. Okay. So, you know, we've got a lot of images down here, which I feel like is kind of clogging things up, so maybe I'll maneuver them somewhere else. But, beyond that, I feel as though I'm missing something that I am forgetting, and most likely, I'm going to change my background noise generator. So, curious, based on what we've been talking about so far, the suffusion of this whole lighted forest and these civilizations where their magic is being lost or it's hidden underneath things, is there anything specific that comes to your mind? And maybe not specific, maybe vague, a keyword that you think is the kind of feeling you want to evoke inside yourself for the stories you would tell inside a setting like this. Let's see here. It's a somewhat small image, but it's from Fantasy Flight Games. And it's for Runebound. Quest throughout Runebound. So I'm just gonna put this image, that link in there because that's where the image is from. I'm gonna paste that on in there. I think it's a very lovely image. I like the idea of untamed wilderness or untamable wilderness between these cities, between these dots of civilization that, may or may not live in harmony with their surrounding region. But then just these massive walking things, captained and crewed, and basically just being boats for all intents and purposes. Striding, bringing cargo across the land. Entire civilizations, not civilizations, entire economies rising and falling on the surge of these things, of this new force multiplier, this new technology. I think. Go back to Autumn Walk for now. That's a nice one. Okay. Finding these to be a little annoying now, so I think I'll just stick with the standard. Okay. Setting about rekindling the magic inside of yourself through the world. Through remembering the magic of life, invention, and community. So, now that we've established some themes and feelings, I think let's talk about some high-level lore. Some stuff that's a little more detailed, but not too much, just zooming in a little bit. I think I'm gonna just... That's heading 1, so we'll do heading 2. Make that also heading 2. And then, again, heading 2. There we go. We've got the whole lighted forest thing, but then we have several other things as well. I was planning initially on putting the lighted forest down in here, on a swath of forest with coastline and probably bulging out past the mountains as well. A massive, massive woodland. But beyond that, I really want to kind of identify some cities and where they might be, because they're going to play a big part as well. If these themes stick, and I mean, I think that they're quite strong themes, and that they have every potential to stick in a big way. So I'm going to go back through just the concept and the themes and feelings. I'm just going to read them, because reading out loud helps me, but then I would like to know if any of you think there's something that you would want to include in this. And if not, that's okay too. I can just continue on either way. But the concept. A setting about rekindling the magic inside of yourself and the world through remembering the magic of life, invention, and community. The setting will have themes of a changing world with supernatural entities such as the Fae and dragons and spirits, all either disappearing or leaving or losing their power. They understand what is going on, even if only in part, and the journey to changing the world is the protagonist's primary, maybe not goal, I don't know if goal is the right word, but it's their primary action. Heal or harm, it is an epic fantasy about the path of renewal, about the path of struggle, or about the path of destruction. So, themes and feelings. Life that is unaffected by civilization contains its own magic, and it is to say that nature is a nature untouched by structures imagined by mortal minds has its own form of magic. And yet also the inventive spark of mortal minds also contains a different kind of magic, and that it also becomes lost through struggle and pain and being stuffed into a box. And so I'm thinking that these massive magical constructs that stride the land between cities, carrying people and cargo, that they are a union of these two kinds of magic. They're unique in that way. They are the inventive aspect of people, but they are also natural because they use nature spirits as their core. And one must negotiate with these spirits. One must engage with these natural entities and kind of gain their approval to utilize their abilities and power and such. And so within all of that, adventure is a call that everyone feels. Because out there in the world, there are lost memories. There's miracles that can be found, and there's great wisdom to be found as well. Deep, dark forests, forests that are light and full of song, waves of grass and plains, sweeping hills, jagged mountains, roiling seas, all kind of untamed. And yet you have these pockets of almost indomitable life. Sorry about that. That's something I haven't really addressed yet, Broken Golem. I was thinking that maybe it's, and this is a high-level lore concept, so we could decide it now. This pilot or this captain or this founder or this summoner, what the spirit gets out of it is things they can't get otherwise. So, offerings, whatever those may be. Maybe they're favors. Maybe they are terrible things. Maybe they're really interesting things. Maybe they're memories. I think it would change from person to person. Hey there, Carrying Comfort Studios. How are you doing? And Lefreaky redeemed Show Us the Cat. I don't have a cat, but I do have dogs. I don't know exactly where they are. So when we take a break in like 10-ish minutes, I will go get one of them. But let's see. And you asked earlier, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I will summon a cat. We have plush cats. And to answer the other question earlier, when talking about high-level lore, lore meaning just anything that is ultimately information about the setting. Like, we've got some very rough concepts, and we can still keep them pretty rough and chisel them out a little bit more with high-level lore, like maybe defining what are the aspects of the Lighted Forest, what are the aspects of these great big, I don't know, let's call them spirit walkers for now. What are the details of that? What are the details of insert city name here? And not the details down to the finest level, but still from a very bird's eye view. So, Monsieur, brother, Wes. I know I shared with you, the whole concept I came up with the other day while watching Aladdin. I thought, it would probably fit pretty well in here. So, started borrowing some images from various places for lovely little walking things. I'm kind of excited about it. Yeah, I was pretty excited about the idea when I initially came up with it, and it's in this context it's a little different than the original idea I came up with, but I think it's a good, fun direction. Mostly because it adds a little bit of something unique. Maybe not unique, but different. At least different than I've done. At least I just said at least twice. Random idea. Spirits joined the constructs as a mean of surviving. Ah. What they get in turn are glimpses of nature, perhaps your idea of memories, experiences. So the motivation to move is seeing different parts of nature they were fond of as spirits. No, that's a phenomenal idea. If we're talking about, nature spirits, and like, things like kind of going away, maybe the spirits are slowly losing touch with their homes. Maybe they can't actually manipulate the environments they used to live in. And so it's either live in the few places that are probably now crowded with spirits. Yeah. I have been told I'm pretty good at painting a visual picture with my words, so I'm glad it worked. I don't know if it's always true. Sometimes the images I paint are probably unpleasant. Listen, I'm drinking two things. I drank water. Okay, you just can't see it because it's clear like water's supposed to be. It's forest water. But this is a gin and tonic with a little bit of sweet vermouth. Bitter bean water. Okay. So I really liked that idea, Broken Golem, by the way. Really liked that idea. Still gonna leave it as a thought, and if by the end of tonight's thing we don't decide we want to change it, I'm just gonna write it in. But yeah. It's funny, when I was thinking about this concept initially, my brain was literally just going, it makes sense that in Spaceballs that the joke was that the Millennium Falcon was actually just a space RV. I mean, because for all intents and purposes, it served a similar purpose. Space caravan. And you know, so creating this new aspect of nomadic travel, but making it so it cannot possibly be mass produced was my goal. You know, yeah. So it's kind of like a giant fantasy caravan with legs. So ideally for me to be able to bring in that swashbuckling piratey vibe, if people so desire it, I was thinking that you do still need crews, and you do still need like people to lead them. Mostly because I'm thinking that even though these are controlled by magical spirits, that, you know, if a part breaks, someone needs to be able to repair it. Or get, you know, new parts. Even if the spirit does all the work, you still have to run around and fetch things and do things. And with enough people, you need support staff, like a cook, and, you know, things like that. And if you are carrying cargo around, you need someone who's kind of a broker or a quartermaster. So you have this option of doing the space odyssey, space opera type thing, or you can do high seas swashbuckling type thing, or you can literally just be traveling the world, being an explorer, seeking out things. Especially that whole concept that the gods are bound to stones and are just out throughout the world, and if you find one, they might grant you wishes, and maybe sometimes more like a monkey paw than others, and maybe sometimes they're very benevolent. We'll call them beasts of burden for now. Evidence of these beasts of burden. That sounds fun. Maybe, ooh. Ghost ships, ghost ships, ghost ships. Ah, it's 6:56. 1 minute ago, I just got notice that that my friend is popping in. Ah, Norwich, there you are. Ghost ship sounds like a pirate band I can get behind. Yeah, I mean, same. Is there anything that could super interfere with these moving structures? Like, say, are there areas where magic is so strange, so other to the magic that powers the structures that they begin to have trouble functioning or even stop altogether until something helps them out? You know, I think that is a great potential idea. That maybe there are, excuse me, we'll call this magics of the world. Because of the shadows passing over the land, these great, or excuse me, there are areas where nature functions differently, and where there is either a corruption or a deadening of mystical forces, making them hazardous to any creature that relies on such things. That was a great idea, Silverwings. Good idea. You know, I wouldn't want to overuse it, because the whole mana waste concept is still very prevalent, but I think it would be interesting in a way more similar to like radiation pockets in say like Pripyat. So there's that. But yeah. So we're gonna go on break here in a moment. But before we do, I did promise Norwich that I would sing them a song. So I'm going to do so. And I don't know how it's gonna sound without music, but I'm gonna sing it anyway. And it's a song that's been in my head a lot lately, and it's from Steven Universe. So there's that. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here comes a thought that might alarm you. What someone said and how it harmed you. Something you did that failed to be charming. Words that you've said are suddenly swarming. Oh, you're losing sight. You're losing touch. All these little things seem to matter so much that they confuse you, that I might lose you. Take a moment to think of just flexibility, love, and trust. Take a moment to think of just flexibility, love, and trust. Here comes a thought that might alarm me. What someone said and how it harmed me. Something I did that failed to be charming. Words that I've said are suddenly swarming. Oh, I'm losing sight. I'm losing touch. All these little things seem to matter so much that they confuse me, that I might lose me. Take a moment to think of just flexibility, love, and trust. Take a moment to think of just flexibility, love, and trust. There you go. That makes me so happy. Because, like, I don't know. I have hard days, you know? I think we all do. We have really hard days. Days where it feels like I can't get out of bed. But honestly, that song has helped me a lot. It's a really wholesome. If you guys haven't watched Steven Universe, it is A+++. It is 20 out of 10. Excellent writing, especially if you're queer. But it is break time. So thank you very much, by the way, Segfault. I'm having trouble pronouncing your name, but and Maritama, I see you there. So we're gonna be back in just a couple minutes. I'm just gonna go get some more water, take a break, but we will continue doing some world building, and don't go anywhere because creating is better with friends. And as always, before we go, something I'm not getting rid of, guys, is Black Lives Matter. All right, let's always take a moment every day to remember that and say it. That took more time than I anticipated, but that's because I was summoned by my partner. But we are back. Did everyone get the opportunity to get what they needed, whether it be water, a drink, a smoke, a bee? The great Lord Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep? I don't know how to say it. Bees! Bees? Doggo. Hang on. Come visit me. I gotta turn off chroma cam. Well, not turn it off. Buddy Muffin, my little Papochino. Let me turn off the background. Atticus, come here. Atticus, here. Stay here with me. Mona's here now, too. Naturally. Oh, no. Spooky. Trying to turn this off and it's not working, so I have a better idea. Give me 1 sec. I have a much better idea. Video capture device properties. Change this to this one. There we go. Puppies. Here. Alright, so I fixed it. And you can have some puppies. Atticus, come over there. There we are. Yep, they are big doggos. They're 65 and 75 pounds respectively. Please don't shout. I'm gonna turn back on chroma cam. Set myself up with my fun background. Save, and we should be good. Yeah, so it's Mona Lisa and Atticus, though we call Atticus Brown, just because he's a really light brown brindle. He is adorable. He's the cutest thing. Okay. So, where were we? We were somewhere, and I realized this is crooked now. There we go. It's also aiming down too much. A little better. I really need to set up my green screen again. I keep on clipping in and out my mic arm. It's such a pain in the butt when all you have is a sheet. So, I really liked the suggestions that have been made so far. They're amazing. Like, you know, that about the spirit walkers, about the magics of the world. So, curious. What is your favorite fantasy city gimmick? Like, what is your favorite thing? It doesn't matter how silly it is. I'm curious. Taverns and tunnels. So both of them or connected? Mm-hmm. Well, good news. Savannah Kingdom, basically. That definitely looks like it could be a city on the bluffs. And these are all images that are not remotely mine. They're from different things that I just found and linked to. But city on the bluffs, Savannah City. Floating cities. Yes, there's always one wacky shop. I'll just say cities for now. City on a bluff. City on the savannah. I think that the city on the bluff has lots of tunnels because there's lots of rock. I think that the city on the savannah is known probably for its weird shops. Maybe not weird, but weird robust. How about this? Robust small business enterprises. Because today we have turned into a conference room, and I am your bland presenter. Oh, wow. Segfault, you just threw me way back. Final Fantasy IX, the sentient spirit magic puppets. I forgot about them. Like, completely. You just kind of gave me, like, a blast of memory. And I do like floating cities, don't get me wrong. You know, what if there is a floating city? And what if it's, like, what if it's just a really big spirit walker, and it's a whole city? Kind of like the whole dragon turtle concept, or like islands on the backs of turtles. So Spirit Walker is a term that we're using in the interim until a better term comes up, where it is entities that are kind of created through a suffusion of spiritual matter and physical matter. And they are basically overland boats for all intents and purposes. They carry cargo and people and explorers and whatever. And yeah, cities on the backs of giant creatures. I mean, that's kind of what this is. It's a mixture of technology without the industrialism and that concept of cities on the backs of creatures. Segue on that note, there is a game I recently started playing at the recommendation of a friend. It's an MMO called Wakfu. And on like some of the title art for the game is a city on the back of a dragon, and I thought that was really cool. That is really cool. I can tell. Oh, and for those who don't realize from looking at the thing over here, Kathakaros is me. So if you see anything that's said by Kathakaros and it's just a random word, it's because I just said it and I wanted to spell it out. I see Mr. Cultist has joined us as well. And Electrical Longboard. What a good name. Commander Root. Got a lot of people. Listen here. Don't get sassy with me. I am half a gin and tonic deep, and I will sass you back. And yes, that was supposed to be very silly. Okay. So question. If there's a city on the back of like a giant animal or monster, I think we should do something unusual here. I don't think it should be a turtle. I don't think... Big brain. Slurp slurp. That's a neat idea, Silver Wings. Oh, Possum City! Oh no, have any of you listened to Not Another D&D podcast? Because all I can think of is Emily Axford playing the druid, the fungus druid, Moonshine Sybin, and having an opossum animal companion named Pawpaw Gump. And he and Brian Murphy, the game master, every time Pawpaw needed something, he would always just make this noise. I couldn't handle it. So you said giant city, I just imagine this like really dumb looking possum, like eyes splayed out, with their whole like cute little fingers splayed in a huge way, just like waddling around the city on its back. Oh god. Because let's be fair here, opossums waddle in a big way. That's a very wiggly city. Well, right. And they're young, probably get, they hold on for dear life. With their strong little cute hands. They are very cute, very wiggly. Excuse me. Large, like fully grown male opossums can kind of be a little ugly because it seems like their eyes don't grow, and just their bodies, so they have these beady little eyes and huge bodies. But adolescents and young are incredibly cute. Yeah, those. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The towers that are basically just blocks stacked on top of each other. An alligator city. I like that. Here's what I was also thinking. Instead of a giant sea turtle, why not a giant jellyfish? Welcome to Gator Town, everybody. Gator Town, Florida. That might be a little bit too much of a SpongeBob reference, but I like the way you think. I like the idea of the Gator Town one too, because it implies that the city only ever settles down in swamps and bogs. Soup. Oh no. So did they like batten up the entire place when the gator starts moving? Did they just like have to everything has covers and walls and everything's battened down, so when the gator starts moving, they can just keep warm in those impressively windy and less humid climates. Everything has shutters, yeah. I love it. Should probably, actually say alligator. But no, screw it. Gator. Welcome to Worlds and Crafts, everybody. We got gators and jellyfish and small businesses and spirit walkers. Lots of tunnels, too. Don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. Magic's the world. Okay. So. Oh no. Yeehaw, okay? We need corvids. We need corvids. We need lots of ravens. High level lore. Ravens. There we go. I love ravens so very much. I don't care how overused they are. We have them nearby. They're great. Ooh, that's a good idea, Maritama. So, followed by massive flocks of birds that groom the gator. Settles down only in river deltas. Hello there, Nile crocodile type things. Swamps, bogs, and brackish estuaries. I actually really like the alligator concept a lot, because you're too small to be anything other than beneath its notice. It just does not care. You're like ants. Like, nah. I mean, like, that's it. So here's the bigger question for me. What do they eat? Well, there's got to be an entire ecology around it. Segfault, that's a really good question. What happens to its droppings? Sacrifices to the gator god. That's it, lad. That's your final chance. You're going to the gator. Maybe the gator only eats once every so often, and so it makes a giant circle where it comes back to the ocean, and maybe it just eats fish. That would be a really intense judiciary punishment, and I don't know if I would include it, because I don't really know if I feel like including things like that at the moment. That seems a little bit, close to home. Gatorade. Wow, welcome, Mr. Cultist. Nice to see you. Welcome to Worlds and Crafts, where we do nothing but make puns. Come in. I think Mr. Cultist only ever comes in strong. Yeah, it's a little too rough. I don't feel like doing that. I was being cheeky, and I think I'm going to leave it there, and that's it. We're just going to take that, I'm going to bottle it, we're going to put it on a shelf, and say, not now. So I'm really kind of stuck on this Gator City now. Like, I just am. Fish. What happens to its droppings? Habitat for giant dung beetles. Boom. Wow. Done. If anyone caught that typo, you know why I'm laughing. Okay. You know, well, the floating city on the giant jellyfish sounds fun. I actually think I would like to nix it. Dung beetles all the way down. Well, I mean, alligators are carnivores with absolutely no preference other than, is it meat? Does it taste good? Yes. Habitat for humanity. Hey, West coming in with the good times. God damn it. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is any carnivore that would eat a lot of fish. Because realistically, I don't think there's an entire, like, giant animal economy here. You know, so it probably just is, it's probably, realistically, an old spirit. And it probably subsists in some ways on some kind of spirit energy, but also eats fish. Sea Lion City sounds like a name, like a line from an Eminem song. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Walrus City. That old gator. You know, Maritama, are you from that area? I might know who you are, I just often forget people's Twitch names compared to the names I know them by. That's fair. there's a lot of really interesting old parks that no longer exist throughout the entirety of New England and New York, just in general, anywhere in the space of the space that was already well developed in the late 19th century, like very well developed. There were these parks in Massachusetts, in Western Mass, that were like hotels on mountains, and the only way you could get there was by flying to like a weird little remote airstrip in your fucking biplane, and then taking a cable car or like a mountain train up the mountain to this hotel. Oh, Martam, I didn't realize it was Alyssa. Hi. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I always mix up people's online names. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I mean, I know who Noir Witch is because I see Noir Witch as the name for yeah, on Twitter all the time. Yeah, no, you guys honest to God were my favorite game at that particular convention. That was great. Mostly because you guys were really creative. And also totally willing to just go roll with it, and it was hilariously fun. I'm actually in a V5 game every other Saturday right now, where I'm playing a hot mess of a Boston Bruja, and that's a lot of fun. Okay. Trying to get back to this thing right here and not get derailed by V5. Granted, I will say this. Vampire the Masquerade, especially 5th edition, it's so well written, I can't handle it. Onyx Path Publishing did a beautiful job. So it is a really great example of some stellar developing. They didn't do much of the world building, so they can't really take credit for that, but they've done a lot of good with the world that was built. Amazing, really good. But so I think we've done enough on the walking city on the Old Gator. The whole floating city thing, come back to that. So city on the bluff. I really enjoy that trope about a city on a sea bluff. That is, just like built into the cliffs and then built on top of them as well, carved from the living stone, with the old city beneath it and such. I always thought that was a fantastic, fun idea. Especially when there's docks down at the bottom somewhere. Like, congratulations, you get to descend 60 floors to get to the docks. And as a result of that, I like the concept of lots of tunnels. So not illicit activity, sorry. So smuggling is quite common. I think it would probably be one of the oldest cities in the land. I don't want to say the world because we're kind of focusing in on a small section here. It's not the whole world for certain. What else about this city on a bluff? And I really like this image. Maybe suffusing it with some other themes outside of... Well, that looks kind of... I don't know what to call that. It's like a mixture of what appears to be almost like some Greek themes with almost what appears to be like Arabian themes in there as well, but also then almost like the adobe houses of the Southwest. Just the American Southwest and Mexico and such. It's a really interesting mix of themes. Clearly warm weather, which I enjoy, but also I like the concept of temperate weather as well. Just because I grew up in it. I know, 4 seasons? Primo. Fucking good shit, guys. Don't worry about it, kid. We got fucking seasons for days. Ooh, ghost stories. I like that. And series of caves. Sea caves that make for strange, audible phenomena. Maybe call it the Singing Cliffs. Or the Wailing Cliffs. Depends on the time of year. Ghost stories. Ooh, baby. About sailors dashed against the unforgiving stone and people who became lost in the caves and tunnels beneath the city. I like that a lot. Okay. What about the city on the savannah? What about small business enterprises? Let's change that to ever-changing markets and demands. Big focus on the little guy, on the little people who make the city go round. Let's go to the Wailing Cliffs. So, Segfault, it's funny you say that because I watched Aladdin Well Incredibly Stoned the other night, and that was a lot of fun. Great movie, really good movie. 1990s Aladdin. I forgot how amazing it is until I watched it again. Secret tunnel, secret tunnel, secret tunnel. And are you thinking, when you say that, Segfault, I mean, you're thinking about the Arabian Desert at that point, no? Come with me to a land in a faraway place. I don't remember all the words, but I remember the intro. And it's Robin Williams as not Genie, the traitor. Huh. Didn't know that. 1990s. Lots of bad sentiments about China. RIP. At least in America. Aladdin. Maybe... So what makes this city unique? I think it's on a river. Not unique, but it's notable features. I think it would be on a river for certain, because in savannas it's quite arid, and usually civilization thrives on the existence of water, right? On a great river. Maybe on an island, kind of like Paris. On an island in a great river. Broken Golem, where did you learn about that, by the way, out of curiosity? A podcast called No Such Thing as a Fish. Alrighty then. Well, shout out to that, I guess. I just realized this died. Unmute. There we go. My autumn walk is back. So I'm gonna do a brief shout out to anyone who's here who's never talked to me about this. Go to mynoise.net. It will change your life. spend the $5 to $10 for their premium thing, get the stuff. There's over 200 generators. It will play sounds on loop for you that will soothe your soul. Do it. Beyond that, our mapping program, which we'll be touching more on tomorrow, is Incarnate. And that's another one, Incarnate, which is actually, we're kind of in a little bit of a... We probably can. I think we have one for Incarnate. That's fair, Broken Golem. Yeah, I think we might have one set up for Incarnate. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Nope, we don't. So, the mapping program we'll be using is Incarnate. So if you're going to be around tomorrow between 12 and 2 Eastern Standard Time, come around and check it out. I'll be showcasing it in a bigger way. We won't just be staring at a blank map that I added a couple things to. We'll probably be adding forests and cities and interesting things here and there, maybe some roads. That usually comes later. But we'll be working as we build out the details of what's going on around here. And I think what we're going to end up doing is we're probably going to choose, after we've worked out some of the high-level lore, we're going to choose a location and focus in on it in a bigger way. Because once we have a rough aspect of its surrounding regions, we know what to consider when focusing in. So whether it's the forest or a city or the wandering crocodile monster thing, you know, we have plenty to work with as an option. So, something that I was thinking... Life has many doors, said boy. Something I was thinking was that I think I would prefer this to be a setting where magic is accessible, but is not... It's not the type of thing where you can cast spells as an individual, but that maybe there are rituals to do things and methods to utilize magic, but that you can't yourself create magic in your head. Kind of, yeah. So one of the premises for the setting that you may have seen, may have missed, is that life unaffected by civilization contains a magic that becomes lost through the effects of that civilization. It is an untamable force that dies when it is tamed. And that the inventive spark in all mortals, in all people, in all humans, contains a different kind of magic that becomes lost through struggle and pain. It becomes lost when it is snuffed out. And both of these can be rediscovered through the return to nature or through remembering your own magic. Because that's really ultimately what I wanted to cover here, was a setting about remembering your magic, where the loss of magic is not permanent, the loss of wonder is not permanent, where you can undertake a journey to remember it, to gain it back. Rituals and strange methods. And to answer your question about with people or specific materials, I think that could work. That sounds a little bit more like deep dive lore, but I like the concept of using physical things or social things. So magic is an elemental force that is difficult to control, and while its energies can be harnessed through rituals and strange methods, it often requires people, places, and special things to perform, sometimes great sacrifices. And I'm not talking about human sacrifice here, though you could potentially include that, I suppose. I'm not excluding that. It's just not something I want to focus in on. Something I am a little tired of personally is fantasy settings that focus in on military combat. I'm trying to avoid that, trying to make this about exploration, about wonder. And there is a setting that does that beautifully already, but, well, this is a setting building stream, and we're just here to talk about it and make it happen together, because creating is better with friends. This is mostly all just for fun. Like, I want everyone here to have fun, to feel good, to have a laugh, to enjoy themselves. That's why we're here. I can't allow myself to feel pressured about the stream because that would cause it to lose its magic. Right? And there we have the crux of it. You have to care enough about what you're working on, but be willing to let it shape itself. Let it grow. So, coming back to magic then. Because of there is a shadow passing over the land. And that shadow is thus far undefined, and I don't necessarily want to define it. But I do want to bring in some aspects to it. So, we had talked previously in the initial planning that I didn't write it in here for some reason, even though I should have. There is a shadow passing over the land. And where'd it go? It seems a wondrous place, but there is something wrong happening. A deadening through which the greenery grows dimmer, the creations less exciting, and the majesty of the world codified. The spirits and dragons know what is going on, but they are loath to speak of it, and slowly a shadow is stretching across the lands. So I seek to consider what are some of the telltales of that shadow. What are some of the warning signs of that shadow? Maybe before it fully takes root, maybe before it destroys magic, but where it starts to arrive. And I definitely don't want to be ableist with this either, because one of the first thoughts that came in my mind was, well, what about like lethargy and depression? I'm like, no, that happens anyway. That happens to everyone. It goes in phases. You know, everyone goes through waves and patterns. Some of us, more extremely than others. Solemn nod of understanding. That's valid. So maybe we can come back to the Shadow of the Land, but it is something I want to think about, talk about more at some point. What are the telltales? And personally, I think that one of them would be a halting of invention and creativity. And I'm not talking about on a small scale. I'm not talking about in individuals. I'm talking about in a big way. Like a wave. People comfortable with their way of life and up and leave home. Now, as someone who has experienced a fugue state before, that's kind of what happens when you experience a fugue state. But, you know, I don't know if it's really so faux pas to use it. But we can, you know, we'll consider that for sure. Consider delicately as to not be ableist about fugue states. Halting invention in society, not to be conflated with depression. I'm just very, I try to be very cautious, and I don't want to halt creativity. I like the idea a lot, but I always try to be conscientious. Because there are certain things you can't avoid. sorry to say. The states of the human mind are vast, varied, and overlapping, and the DSM cannot codify us no matter how hard it tries, so it's one of those things where you will eventually stumble on someone's toes. So doing an acknowledgement is sometimes the best you can do. There we go, I'll leave it at that. Okay. I think that a spiritual phenomenon is good too, though, because if you're talking about a setting about remembering your magic, remembering who you are, and remembering what power you have, you know, there is that. So there is some of it that is intentionally talking about fighting against trends within culture and maybe the mind. Yeah. And we haven't really exactly decided on that, but we might eventually come to the conclusion that it's a game about fighting trauma. Light, right? You know, it can happen. Changeling the Lost is all about that in a big way. It's not light at all, it's very heavy. Monster Hearts 2 is one about, you know, like dealing with your teenage traumas, really. You know, and so there's a lot of games out there that have a very intentional element to them about it that are about that in a big way, rather than just in an inclusionary aspect. So, I don't think it's completely disrespectful to include these notions. I just think we need to consider who would feel potentially targeted by them. So, again, I mean, I struggle with depression. I have had fugue states in the past, very rarely, but I've had a couple. You know, and if I experience fugue states regularly and I said, well, one of these shadows, one of these evil things is this thing, which is a fugue state, I would feel a little bad about that. But if the writing then acknowledged that this is not a negative thing, and it is merely a symptom, and it is something people struggle with and must deal with, it feels a little bit more respectful. It doesn't feel like the whole epic fantasy fight between good and evil and my mental illness is evil. Right? So, I'll stop segueing about that now, but that's where my mind goes. So the shadow over the land, maybe magic, excuse me, no, not magic, rituals, bindings, and appreciate you. Rituals, bindings, and enchantments sometimes glitch or go awry. Okay, I think that's a good place to start. Groovy. You know, this has been an incredibly productive stream. So we've got about 10 minutes. So for those who weren't here at the beginning, I'm just going to go back through and kind of readdress what we did today. And Segfault, do you ever have one of those dreams where you try and do something just no matter what you do, you can't make it work right? Yes. Yeah, most definitely. It's been a while since I've had those. I don't remember which one it is, but there's a scene from one of the Men in Blacks that's supposed to be funny, where it's the character of Jay. He's floundering around on some like coiled plastic tubing, and he can't seem to stand up, and he's fumbling around on it, but it like takes so long that it becomes frustrating. And it feels like one of those dreams where you're trying to run away from something or get to something, but there's something ridiculous and slapstick in your way, and yet it is terrifying. So that's the only type of experience I have with you try to do something and just no matter what, you can't make it work right. Usually it's for me running away or running to something. kind of an attachment anxiety. And I don't want to cut you off, Sigfold, by the way, so I will continue to read what you are saying about this if you want to keep talking about it, but I'm just going to read this paragraph real quick. So when we opened our stream today, we had come up with this concept for a new world in which we find adventure and mystery and recalling our own magic. The lighted forest of Mistvale is a place where no civilization may remain. Spirits both benign and malevolent haunt the shadows under heavy boughs and frolic in streams of golden sunlight that pierce the canopy. It is the last refuge of the mystic in this land and serves as a place of pilgrimage for many peoples nearby. Yet it is only representative of one part of this great world of dangers and adventure. Cities that are full of wondrous invention and forgotten magic dot the lands like islands and seas of wildlife, and great constructs stride between them carrying passengers and supplies. It seems like a wondrous place, but there is something wrong happening. A deadening through which the greenery grows dimmer, the creation less exciting, and the majesty of the world codified. The spirits and fae and dragons know what is going on, but they are loath to speak of it. And slowly a shadow is stretching across the lands. Who will you be in this threatened world of wonder? Will you stop it, or will you take advantage of it? Who will remember you when you are lost? And this is a setting about rekindling magic inside of yourself and the world through remembering the magic of life, invention, and community. The setting will have themes of a changing world with supernatural entities such as the fae and dragons and spirits, all either disappearing and leaving, or losing their power. They understand what is going on, even if only in part, and the journey to changing the world is the protagonist's primary action. Heal or harm, it is an epic fantasy about the path of renewal, struggle, or destruction. And you all helped contribute in a big way to that today. It started out by talking about our favorite fantasies last week, and kind of suffusing those into one coalescent element. And then after building that out, we talked about themes and feelings. That life here is that is unaffected by civilization contains its own magic, that nature is its own magic, and that the inventive spark within us is so natural to us that it contains a different kind of magic that is lost through struggle and pain. That there are these massive magical constructs that stride the land, carrying people and cargo, and that they are, in their own way, living creatures created through the physical matter and spiritual matter. Adventure is a call that everyone feels, for out in the world, lost memories can be found. I lost it. For out in the world, there are lost memories. Oh, there we go. Derp. Lost memories. Miracles and wisdom to be found. You can always rekindle your magic. You can always heal the wounds. And then we kind of went through some visual themes. There's some of these lovely pictures of forests, fairy rings, and then some very interesting art of walking things, walking buildings, constructs. Broken Golden came up with a great suggestion. To go FFY620. I'm sorry, I don't speak. I'm not that fluent in Deutsch. So an English bitte? It's probably a bot, but I treat it like a person until otherwise. Going through this, and we came to these cities, and then we started talking about that lore. And that's ultimately what we covered today, where we have had to expand a concept into a place where people could live. and where many stories can be told. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. And if you have time tomorrow, join us between 12 and 2 for some map building with these lovely concepts, these lovely high-level lore ideas made a little bit more physical. And yeah, I really hope that you all have a beautiful night, a lovely night, and that this was a relaxing stream for you. And please do make sure to check us out on Twitter. Follow Gehenna Gaming. If you want to hit that up. Is Broken Golem still here? I think you are. Yeah, so if Broken Golem, if you wouldn't mind hitting that social media thingy. And you guys should definitely join our Discord. I'm on there all the time, so if you want to talk, I'm definitely there. You should also check out our Patreon, because Gehenna Gaming is doing a lot of amazing things. We also have some fun exclusive benefits that are great and sometimes involve Vampire the Masquerade and sometimes involve Kult and sometimes involve Minecraft and all kinds of things. So, check us out on social media, join our Discord, follow me on Twitter at Kathakaros, Katharkaros. And as always, folks, creating is better with friends, and game on. And how about a new slogan? Remember your magic, kiddos. Ciao.